Oh, Arsenal, you couldn't give me a fun video to record, could you? I just had to be here analysing dropped points against Brighton on a Saturday evening. Here we go, guys. We're going to be looking through all the key moments of the game, controversial key players, who performed well, who didn't perform well. Before we get into it, if I could ask you to please like, subscribe, comment, it would be very much appreciated. I love interacting with you guys, and I appreciate everybody who watches these videos. Let's get stuck into it because we've got a lot to cover. Firstly, we're going to look at the lineups, we're going to dive into the stats, and then we're going to talk about some key people and players and moments. Firstly, starting off with Arsenal's lineup, couple of surprises. One, obviously, with Timber being out, Thomas Partey moves into right back. One that I am not really a fan of, especially with how good Thomas Partey has been playing at centre mid. And I always said, like, Thomas Partey at right back, he puts in a good shift. He really does try hard. But when he's playing so well in centre mid, why are we moving him to right back? Why couldn't you try someone else at right back, for example? I mean, again, I'm just not overly a fan of that move, of that tactical move. Into the midfield, Moreno, Jorginho, Rice, and a midfield that you could say contains three defensive-minded midfielders, to be honest with you. No creative spark in that midfield at all. This was a robust, industrious midfield. That's probably what Mikel Arteta wanted when he picked it. A midfield that wouldn't be out-battled. Nwaneri, Jesus and Trossard up front made the front three. Nwaneri starting again after his brilliant performance against Ipswich was well welcomed, and he was someone who, even though he didn't get a goal of assist, stood out for Arsenal fans. Jesus and Trossard were two players who played, and we would be looking at to see what they could deliver. From a Brighton standpoint, players that we all know, Adingra, João Pedro, they had Gruder on the wing as well, O'Reilly, Baleba, and a back four of familiar faces. So we're going to be moving on, going through the game, how it played out, what happened. And again, looking at the game, I'll be honest with you, as a collective, I don't think Arsenal took complete control of the game, if I'm being honest with you. Very hard to do away from home against a talented team like Brighton. But the game, from even after Arsenal scored, even before they scored, it was anyone's game. And that's just being honest with you. Brighton had opportunities. Arsenal had opportunities. Yes, Arsenal did seize their goal early on. Nwaneri with the goal, a brilliant moment for him, showed his quality. And, you know, we call Saka star boy. Nwaneri's rising up in those ranks as being considered another star boy. He had a brilliant moment. The Brighton defense didn't close down on him, cutting in from the wing. He kept on driving into the box, finished expertly past the goalkeeper, and it was a brilliant start for Arsenal, to be honest with you. What have I always said about Arsenal? You get an early goal, the game state changes, they're in a much better position, and Brighton, to their credit, pushed on and tried to get a goal. If we look at the overall stats, 11 shots for Brighton, 9 for Arsenal, 4 on target for them compared to 3 for Arsenal. And again, you look at the big chances. Arsenal had chances, they just weren't clinical enough to take them. So from a Brighton standpoint, they also had chances and they weren't clinical enough to take their chances as well. So both teams were struggling with their finishing, with executing their chances that they were given. But Arsenal being 1-0 up, it did look like they were going to be in a position to see out the game. Brighton were huffing and puffing, but they weren't producing enough pressure on the goal to make me think that this is going to be Brighton are going to come back 1-1 when they did. How they did is where the controversy lies. So we have a moment and a penalty here which I'm trying to try and describe to you, but it's one that's unique to this game, and I haven't really seen a penalty like it, if I'm being honest. So the ball is up in the air in the box. There's a lot of panic, I would say, in the Arsenal box. Gabriel's trying to defend, Saliba's trying to defend. Ball goes up into the air. João Pedro heads it. Saliba goes to head it as well. He gets a nick on the ball before connecting with João Pedro, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, clash of heads, it's going to be fine. No, the referee points to the spot. Brighton are awarded a penalty, and I would say it's soft. I don't think it's a penalty, if I'm being honest with you. I wonder where VAR is in a moment like this, because they quickly awarded that penalty. Did they slow down the moment? Did they review the moment? No, it didn't seem like they did, because that to me is like a clear and obvious error, purely on the fact that Saliba touches the ball before he actually connects with João Pedro. That shouldn't be a penalty. However, I'm in the camp that I'm not going to harp on about the penalty, to be honest with you. It's annoying. It annoys me. VAR are incompetent. referee standard in the Premier League is at such a disgusting level that it actually makes you not want to watch games, because you can't be satisfied with what's taken place, because it's not officiated in a desirable manner. It's not officiated in a good enough manner. And I'm talking about on both sides, for Arsenal, against Arsenal, for other teams, against other teams. There's multiple occasions where teams are being hamstrung and dealt damaging blows because these referees and VAR can't do their job effectively enough. But again, I'm not going to hang my hat on, oh, that was the penalty. And Arsenal, past that point of conceding the penalty, created nothing. Throughout the rest of the game, it wasn't good enough, if I'm being honest with you. For a team who wants to win a title, the attacking pressure at the end of that game wasn't good enough. At the end of the day, unless you were going to see out a 1-0 win, Arsenal didn't seem to have anything else in their locker. And I'll go through it individually. Jesus, I don't think produced anywhere near enough, to be honest with you. Quick to praise him when he's scoring, but when he's performing poorly, we have to call it out. I don't think he offered anything in that striking position. We look like we missed Kai Havertz today, if I'm being honest with you, in terms of presence, in terms of the ability to keep the ball high up in Brighton's half. We seem to struggle there. The ball seemed to be in the middle of the park or in our half towards the latter stages of the game. Also, Nwaneri coming off, I understand it. If there was an injury, Mikel Arteta has said there's an injury. Some fans were less understanding. If it wasn't an injury, I can't understand for the life of me why he would take the boy off. He's been our best player for the last 2 games. If it is an injury, completely understandable. No issue with that. He does bring on Martinelli. He plays him on the right wing. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what they've given him. 6.1 for Martinelli. That's very favourable. Offered absolutely nothing. Nothing. Poor on the right wing. We've seen it time and time again. I saw it against Everton last season. I don't think it was good. Final game of the season wasn't good enough in my opinion. Now we wanted to do the same thing against Brighton second half of the game. It wasn't working. It wasn't good enough. Stick him on the left wing. Let Trossard play on the right wing. Switch it around. Play Jesus right wing. I'm not sure, but please try and change it up, because we've seen it when he came in to deputise for Saka when he was injured against Everton. And it was awful. It wasn't good enough for Martinelli, if I'm being honest with you. Another player I want to talk about is Martin Odegaard. And there's been questions about him being injured. My question would be, again, looking at the bench, the Arsenal bench was awful. But if he's not fit enough, please don't have him on the bench. Because if he's fit enough, I'm going to judge him by the same standards I judge every other player by. We spoke about it when Arsenal played against Ipswich. I said it with no malice at all, but being very, very honest, Martin Odegaard hasn't been good enough. And we were hyping his return up so much, so very much. And he had an initial couple good performances. Past that, he's been very poor. He came onto the pitch today, and I'll be honest with you, he had 30 plus minutes to work with, and he attempted 6 passes and completed 4 of them. Created 0 chances, 10 touches, 3 touches in the box, 1 pass into the final third. And again, he came off the bench. He may be injured. I'm not going to harp on it, but this is the second game back to back for our captain and a player that we've missed for a large part of the season. I need more. I need more from him. I need better control out of the entire team, if I'm being honest with you. I believe centrally we were poor. Jesus, Jorginho, not good enough. If you don't see what Jorginho offered, that party in midfield wouldn't have offered. Miles Lewis-Skelly at right back wouldn't have offered. Why not? Why not? Why can't we try something like that? Why can't we do something a little bit different? We've seen Partey at right back. We want to see him in midfield. Very disappointed from an Arsenal perspective, if I'm being honest with you. Look at the table now. Arsenal played 2 games more than Liverpool and are 5 points adrift. That could grow to 11 points, unfortunately for them. But if you don't take your opportunities, if you draw 7 games, let's just be honest with you, outside of Brighton, who have the most draws, if I'm not mistaken, in the whole league, in the top half of the table, no one has as many as Arsenal. 7 draws. 7 draws. You can't win a league like that. You cannot win a league drawing this amount of games. Why are they drawing this amount of games? Arsenal have not got that spark, have not got that bite, have not got that clinical finisher. And it was a problem that Mikel Arteta knew himself coming into the season. It's something that the board and Edu knew coming into the season. They didn't address it. They didn't address it. They gave us Sterling as a last minute signing. They gave us Moreno as a half-arsed left centre mid signing. And this is what we're dealing with. Plus, Yes, unfortunate circumstances, the penalty, the injuries, the red cards. You can talk about that all. But when you talk about squad strength, when you talk about squad depth, I don't think Arsenal and Arteta have done a good enough job to see Arsenal win the league. Because when Odegaard goes down and you don't have a suitable replacement for him, all you did, you had Nwaneri. You decided not to use him. You decided to put Trossard and Kai Havertz in a rotating false nine pivot. Okay, fair enough. When it wasn't working, you still didn't play Nwaneri. Okay, cool. Any other creative players to bring off the bench? No, just a bunch of young players who are unproven and untested and don't seem to have the pedigree for you to trust them. Okay, cool. Back up for right wing. Okay, yeah, I didn't trust that centre mid to play there. I'm gonna put him right wing now. And it seems like he should have had a lot more game time earlier on in the season. Things like this can really annoy Arsenal fans, if I'm being honest with you. We need an attacker. We need an attacker. It can be a striker, a winger, I don't care. We need someone who can break down games. Someone who's got that special innate ability to break a game. And Arsenal don't have that. They had 30 plus minutes to get a goal back against Brighton and they couldn't do it. Why? Because they haven't got the firepower. That's as simple as it can be, guys. Again, disappointing to say the least, but not gonna lose any sleep over it. For me, the title was a big leap, to be honest with you, and so it becomes a slightly bigger leap. So that's the truth for Arsenal. They have to adjust to their reality. They need to bounce back. If we're looking at fixtures, we're going to take a quick look at what Arsenal have coming up next. Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, Man United in the FA Cup, and then Tottenham back in the Premier League. Then Aston Villa. Look at the joyful fixtures that Arsenal have. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. If they're not ready for those, then it could be a very disappointing season for Arsenal. But we are going to see. I'm hoping Arsenal can bounce back in their next couple of fixtures if they need to. Before this, as mentioned, they were on a pretty good run. Unbeaten in a number of games, as you guys know. So again, not going to lose my head over this game. Disappointing. The gaps that are clear in Arsenal's team, even with all of our fit players, I still can't guarantee we would have broken down Brighton in that final period of time. That's just me being real. We need a game breaker. It's been clear for a long time, and Arsenal will continue to lose out on key moments when they should be leading or winning because they haven't addressed those issues. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment. I want to hear from you guys. We're going to be doing a review through all of the Premier League games throughout the weekend. Don't you worry. Just wanted to cover the Arsenal game specifically. I'll catch you guys soon. It's been EDA. Peace.